Hi there, this is Dr. Dell, and I'd like to welcome you and congratulate you on becoming one of the owners of our first edition of the Practical Everyday Math Problem Solving. Of course, as you know, we call this the kitchen table math that I like to deliver to folks. And what I want to do on this getting started video is to get you launched in the proper way. And in just a minute, I'm going to come back and discuss the table of contents of the CD and make some recommendations to you. Before I do that, I would like to point out that in your notebook, you have about a 10-page introduction to this course that I would recommend that you might wish to read, those of you that like to read. And I'm not going to read it for you for obvious reasons, but I would like to point out a couple of things that are really, really important that I put in bold. First of all, if you should happen to have any type of a fear or phobia about mathematics, or you're just doubting whether or not you can learn it or not, and perhaps you're like a lot of people and you've had a bad experience like I did when I was a young person, do not assume that you cannot understand math. As a matter of fact, that would be a really lamentable thing. I'm confident that when you go through these videos, they're going to empower you to understand math, and particularly all the math that you're going to need to solve everyday practical problems. And I talk a lot about that in this 10-page paper that I've written to you. And in fact, I point out, and it's on page 2, that I've estimated that just about anybody with about 20 hours of serious effort, and that needs to be spread over time, probably 20 days, for example, with that much effort, I think you can master all the math that you're likely to ever need to solve what I call practical everyday problems. And as a matter of fact, you're going to end up knowing more mathematics than probably 95% of the population out there. I also like to point out, this is the bottom of page 3, that as a first edition student, you're invited to email me questions or comments, either one, about this program, any questions you have about it, or for that matter, any math problems you have. And I'm going to have some type of a communication set up, maybe a blog or something, for first edition students. And I will be responding to your emails, your questions and your comments, either with return emails, or in some cases I may actually do a video if it's something I think would be of general interest, and put it on a blog available to all of you. So I don't know how many of these first edition CD programs we're going to sell, but you're certainly in a select group, because it is going to be of limited distribution. And then we will probably at some point in the future do a second edition, in large part based on feedback we get from you folks of the first edition. Now, I go on in these 10 pages to talk about the contents of this course in quite a bit of detail. I discuss each video, and I give a little description of what's in it. So you can take at your leisure, go through and read these descriptions and so forth and so on. And all the videos that are marked with E's are the ones that you need to be studying for the practical everyday math. And then I point out that it's going to take about this many hours to master the different sections: numbers, algebra, geometry, and trigonometry. Adds up to about 20 hours. Now, after that, I have put on these CDs some bonuses. These are not part of the everyday math, and these are things that you may or may not then want to find of interest. But I've got a way of treating mathematics that is not typical. I don't think you're going to find it in any of the textbooks that you may ever have seen, because in particular, I believe that complex numbers are the proper way to introduce you to a lot of the concepts that you need to know in math, even in pre-calculus math, particularly trigonometry. And so I have quite a few special videos on that. Now, I haven't put them all on the CDs. These are bonuses on the CDs, and ultimately they're probably going to be made available on the Zeta of S website. But what I want to do right now is I want to take a quick overview of the syllabus and suggest to you how you want to proceed through it. Well, first of all, you are now watching this getting started video. That's this E102. And if you haven't already seen the Joy of Math video, I suggest you might want to watch it first. I hope it will be somewhat inspirational and reassuring to you, particularly if you have any doubts about your ability to learn math and enjoy it. And then when you've done that, I suggest that you kind of launch into this in the order in which I've given them here. And they're labeled EN01, and N stands for numbers, and of course E is the everyday math. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these, and we discuss different topics on each one of those. And those are described in some depth in the 10-page report if you want to know what's in each one of these videos. But these videos tend to run about 15 minutes in length, like most of the videos do. And once you've gone through and done the 5 number ones and learned how to use the calculator, and you're comfortable with that and having fun with it, then you go into the algebra. Now, this is probably the thing that most of you would dread the most if you've had a bad math experience, is algebra, because that's often where people have had problems. Not always. That was certainly my Waterloo until I got a good teacher and got over it. And there are 3 videos on algebra, and that's all the algebra I believe that you're going to need to do everyday math. It's all I've ever really needed to do the everyday problems. Then you'll launch into the geometry. Now, you could do the geometry first. It doesn't say you have to do the algebra first, but these things tend to get intermingled, particularly when you get to the 5th one on similar triangles. This is often where you generate the algebraic equations that you use to solve problems. So this 5th video on similar triangles is very, very important. But of course, you need to go through the first 4 in order to understand the 5th one, and then it goes on from there. Down through 7, we've covered the 2-dimensional things you'll run into, like triangles and squares and circles. And then we get into 3-dimensional objects where you need to compute surface areas or volumes. And then I have one that I'm really fond of called Archimedes' Tombstone, and I'm not going to tell you the sort of the secret, give it away, but I think you'll really enjoy it once you've gone through the surface areas and the volumes. And then we finish up with 3 videos on trigonometry. And oddly enough, this is just really an extension of geometry and algebra. And it's not very hard to use in a really practical, down-to-earth way. And in fact, you'll see there's only 3 videos on it that are necessary to solve virtually all the practical problems you'll run into with trigonometry. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of bonus videos, and in the bonus videos I do a lot more with trig the way you would want to learn it if you were going to go into engineering and science or study it in a trig course in high school. Now, what I've concluded from all this is that you're going to spend about 4 hours on numbers, and that means you're going to go through each one of the videos 2 or 3 times, and you're going to practice as you go through. I strongly urge you to take the calculator that's included with your course that I use in the training and follow along with me and do the same problems as I'm doing them, and pause the videos and make sure you're doing them and you understand it. Don't just passively watch. Mathematics is, as I've said earlier in other places, is a contact sport. It's something you have to do it to understand it. And the same thing applies to algebra. About 4 hours is what it's going to take, I believe, for you to master the basic skills in algebra you're going to need. Now, there's quite a bit more to geometry, so it's going to take you longer. It's not any harder. In fact, some people think it's easier, and some people think it's more fun, although personally I enjoy all of these very much. And so I'm estimating 8 or 9 hours for you to get the mastery of geometry you need, and then a few hours will follow up with trig, and you'll be done. You put all this together, you've got about 20 hours of effort you're going to put in. You're going to have watched all the videos 2 or 3 times. I've recommended in the other paper that you probably don't try to do too much at any one sitting. If you study an hour a day on this, that will probably be enough to saturate you. In fact, a half an hour a day might be enough. And so it's going to take you anywhere from 20 to 40 days to go through this course and to do it if you do it steadily. Remember, it's better to be steady and patient than it is to try to cram it all in. Now, I will tell you this. When you get done, you're going to not only be able to solve most of the problems you ever run into, you're going to know more mathematics than probably 95% of your fellow citizens. In fact, you're going to know things a lot of math teachers don't even know. As a matter of fact, you're probably going to have a lot of fun with it. Once you learn this, you can actually have fun with it. And indeed, there's going to be stuff that you're going to learn, particularly on the bonus videos, that a lot of high school math teachers don't know, and they need to know it. And as a matter of fact, a lot of this, particularly this what I call the SS videos, are really aimed at high school students and high school math teachers to help them. And of course, the best part of all is if you did have a fear or a phobia about math, that should be over now. You should now know that it can be your best friend. It's fun. It's easy. And so with that thought in mind, I extend to you my best wishes for your future success with mathematics and your enjoyment of it. And I will see you on the first video then, either the Joy of Math or the first one on numbers. So this is Dr. Dell signing off. Enjoy the course. I hope to hear from you. And see you on the next video. Bye-bye.